the most advanced widgets within the software is the slider widget. Drag the slider widget onto the page. You're going to see that we have many different settings that we can configure to get the most out of this widget. Now, again, I would call this maybe perhaps the most advanced widget out of them all, just because there are many different settings to account for if we want to worry about them. So first thing I'm going to do is show you that there is a difference between the slider settings and the panel settings. So the slider controls the panels themselves. So the slider is going to primarily control within the design the arrows, so the navigation of slides. The buttons down here, you'll see the different buttons show us, instead of different pages, it's which slide we're on. And then we can choose how everything is animated when it goes from one slide to another. So again, I'll come into the arrows. You'll see right here on the left, and it would be on the right here too. If I switch between the arrows, it's going to change their style. Now, what we can also do is we can come in here. We can choose its size and choose kind of where it's located on the slider panels themselves. Choose their colors and everything else. Same with the buttons down here. Right now we have them as small circles. They could become squares that are auto fold. Again, we can change their size and how everything essentially works and so forth within them. And then when we go from one panel slide to another, we can choose how we want it to animate. Do we want it to go left to right, right to left? How long do we want it to be? What happens when the customer hovers over it with the mouse? Does it allow it to pause? We have all of that capability to control. Again, it's what makes this widget so powerful, yet a little potentially overwhelming at times. So that controls the different slider settings. But then we have the slides themselves, which are within the panel settings. So right now we are on the first slide. It says slide 1 of 2. So I could come into widgets and I could drag and drop whatever widget I want on here for the most part. So I could put a button in the middle and I could choose where I want the button to be and configure all the button settings. But right now we are essentially a 1 column row panel. So if I come into panel settings and I change the number of columns to 2, it's now going to split this first slide into 2 columns. And then from here I could drag content onto one of these 2 columns within this slide. So you can break up a slide itself by coming into the panel settings for that slide. And these panel settings are pretty much also being displayed a little bit right here. So if I want to change this background color and make it black, I totally can, or white or red, depending on what we want it to be. Click OK. Now, let's say I want to edit the second slide. I'm going to come into click here. Now I'm on slide 2, and now I can edit slide 2's content. And just like I could with the other one, I could come into panel settings. Let's make this one 4. And now it broke this panel up into 4. Within the panel settings itself, though, you're going to typically try to keep it not too content rich, because if you add too much content, you don't give the customer enough time to view everything, you can make it overwhelming and it just doesn't work as well. You're better off creating more slides than too few slides with too much information. So we can come back to slider settings and we can start adding slides. So I'll add a slide, and if I click OK, now you see we have 3. Come back to slider settings. We can choose the order of the slide. So if I want the second one, I now want that to be the default slide, and now that's slide 1 of 3. So again, pretty straightforward how it works, but it's somewhat a little bit more complex because you're having to go into the slider settings, the panel settings, and then instead of displaying, editing one thing of content, you're actually editing multiple slides, which can accumulate to quite a bit. And again, it's better to have more slides with less content than too few slides that are overwhelming with too much content. Hopefully you find this video helpful on how to add a slider widget. Thank you for watching.